But before we get started, what to know. First things first is for Team Divine Dynasty, then make sure you are in the know with the loyalty program. If you check up in the announcements, you will see that there. But what that is every month of 2021 that you order any product that equals 50 PV or more, then you can earn goodies pretty much. So every 3 months consecutively that you have orders, then I will gift you a gift simply for taking care of your health. And even let's say you skip this month, but you decide next month and the month after that, and the month after that, you want to order. Okay, then that's your 3-month period. There's no penalty for skipping. You just wouldn't get the 12-month gift, obviously. So loyalty program, go do that thing. It is worth it. We have good things. Netflix movie night is the 3rd Friday of every single month. If you have suggestions for February's Netflix movie, hold up. Let me check the date real quick because I feel like that might be Valentine's Day. Oh no, okay, it's the following week. Perfect. So if you have suggestions for Netflix movie night, then drop them in the comments here or send them to Hannah. She loves picking out the movies. She's great at that. Also, last thing to know for Divine Dynasty, the Q1 Success Club, I don't know what to call it. We're still working on the wording for that, but our rewards trip. So what we're doing is every quarter, we're going to have like a little getaway, a get together, whether it is staying overnight somewhere, whether it's just having a full day of fun where we can kind of hang out, chit chat, kind of grow together. And that will be the end of March. So go ahead and kind of mark your calendar. It'll be either a day or a weekend, still up in the air. If you have suggestions on something you would like to do, I'm totally 100% open for adventures. This girl loves all the adventures. So I'm really not picky. But how you can earn that is for every Success Club point that you earn, you get a little bit of travel cash. And so that will help pay if we stay the night in a cabin, it pays a little bit of that cabin stay. But even if you don't hit Success Club, if you're getting volume, if you have a week of volume that's 300 or more or 500 or more, then you'll get invited to the trip, even if it's just 1 week that you got 500 or just 1 month that you got 1 Success Club point. It's just a way for those who are helping other people to kind of celebrate yourself and be proud of yourself. What to know for Beachbody, we are in the last days of registering for Team Cup. So if you would like to be on a Team Cup team, go post it in the team page, rally up some people and get involved. Team Cup is super, super fun and they have awesome goodies. I'm all about that Control Freak sweater. I'm just saying. Also, there's a bod group update. So what you need to do is go into your Play Store, or if you have an Apple phone, whatever that is for you, and you need to actually physically update your Beachbody on demand. We have a lot of awesome updates. If you want to learn more about that, then check your back office and they will walk you through every single update that we have. Otherwise, just reinstall it or update it in the actual app and you're going to find out what it is when you get it. Then the next thing to know is Control Freak. So I know lots of people are absolutely loving Control Freak, getting amazing results. I'm so proud of you. I'm cheering you on and I'm excited to start. I'm starting that on the 8th actually. But there are some people who are hesitant because that dang track system, right? Maybe you live in an apartment and you literally can't put a track system in, or maybe you're just hesitant to use the track at all. Autumn is actually releasing a program that is Control Freak without the track. So it's dumbbells only. And that will release on February 8th. The FAQ for that is 9100. So if you were afraid, like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I can't use the equipment, no worries. Autumn's got you. Be on the lookout for that. Also, very important to note, especially if you are working with other people or you often get people the free trial or 3 months to bod. Bod price is increasing, not the 1 year. The 1 year will stay at $99, but the 3 month and the 6 month price is increasing by $20 every quarter or every half the year. But that is effective as of February 1st. The FAQ for that is 2291. Those people who already have a 3-month subscription, they will be grandfathered in price-wise. However, if they ever cancel and then sign back up for the 3 months, then it will be the more expensive price. So this is a great time if you are having the conversations with people about Beachbody On Demand to ensure that we're really giving them the best bang for their buck. Pay $100 instead of 50. It'll be 55, 56 or $57 for 3 months of BOD. Like, that's nuts. That's nuts. Don't quote me on that exact price because I'm, one, really bad at numbers, two, do not have it right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's like $53 or $57 for 3 months of BOD. Nuts, nuts, nuts. Okay. Anyways, moving on to the actual topic today. We are talking all about overcoming negativity. And let me just say, these are not my actual thoughts. These are not, I mean, some of it will be, but the main base of this topic is coming from Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk. I'll be honest, when we started book club and everyone voted this, I was like, oh, well, this will be fine. It's fine. I didn't know what to expect. He's blowing my damn mind. And once this call's over, you're going to see, like, this is just one chapter in this book. This book is pushing me to my limits. It's helping me grow. It's helping me really discover my own truths and what's holding me back and who I want to be in the future. So if you are loving tonight's call, then keep me or reach out to me because I will get you a link for Think Like a Monk. It is on sale right now. And totally worth investing in. It's like a personal growth book that's not like woo-woo, right? A lot of people are afraid to do personal development, personal growth because it's so woo-woo-y and it's weird and it's out there and that doesn't actually work. It's fine. I get it. I understand it. I've been there, but trust me, this is a great start. Anyways, let's just go into it. Overcoming negativity. First things first is you've got to know that negativity is pretty much everywhere, right? Like it's always here. It's always a thing. That's where we're at. Negativity is everywhere. Negativity is all around you. I'm sure right now you can think of 5 to 10 instances today that you have participated or you have seen negativity in the world, right? Like it's 7 o'clock at night. I'm sure you could easily make a list. But the thing we have to remember is that negativity comes from within us, right? And I'm not saying your mom being a jerk or your husband being a jerk or the person who cut you off in traffic, that's coming from within you. But what I'm saying is each individual, the negativity is in them. That includes you. So negativity is everywhere. It's all around us. But really, how do we deal with it, right? Because we don't want to live a negative life. We don't want to be stuck in this place of uncomfort in like just not feeling good. Like who wants to be negative all the time? Who wants to live that life? A lot of us started this journey because we didn't like where we were, and where we were was a bad headspace. So the thing that you got to understand is that negativity comes from fear. Fear from these 3 needs. Fear of a loss of any of these needs. And the 3 core needs are peace, love, and understanding. I wish I had my book here so I could actually quote some of those lines, but that's fine. 3 core needs: peace, love, and understanding. And I'm sure if you think to yourself right now, you could say, oh yeah, I definitely want all 3 of those things. Like all 3 of those things are something that you want, that you need, that you look for in your day-to-day, look for in your life. So what does that actually mean? Loss of peace. Your fear is that bad things are going to happen. Raise your hand if you are that what if person. You're constantly, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? Oh my gosh, what if this happens? Oh, I can't do that because what if this, right? We are so afraid of the what ifs, of what could go wrong, of what's going to stop us, of what's going to hold us back, that we're losing that peace, our peace of mind, the peace in our heart. And so when that loss of peace, when that fear comes in, our response is negative. Our response to maybe what someone said, or maybe how someone behaved, or maybe what's expected of us, right? Like we respond a negative way because we are afraid that we're going to lose something, that something bad's going to happen. And at the end of the day, we're not going to get what we want. All right. Now the loss of love. Raise your hand if you've ever felt unloved. The loss of love is the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being accepted, the fear of being pushed away, rejected, right? When we face that, when we feel that, then that's where this fear comes in. The negative response to this is simply our response to being unloved. Okay, loss of understanding. This comes from the fear of being disrespected. So when we put our opinion out there, right? How many times would you love to share something or post something? Maybe, okay, this is a great example. Maybe as a mom, your baby did something super awesome and you're so proud and so excited and you're like, I'm going to go share this, and you're like, "Wait, I can't share this. There's another mom out there who doesn't have a baby." Or there's another mom out there who X, Y, and Z, right? Like we could go on and on about different examples of this. People won't celebrate themselves, or people won't post things or won't say things because, oh my gosh, what if someone out there doesn't agree with me? How are they going to come at me, right? And so, really, this loss of understanding, of being misunderstood or being judged for your opinion, this is simply the fear of being disrespected. And we can respond in negative ways. So, let's say, for example, you put a post up that someone doesn't understand, and they start responding negatively because, one, they don't understand. And then you get immediately into that defense mode of negativity because they don't understand you. And this could even happen in a regular conversation, right? Like, how many times, let me raise my hand, how many times has that happened between me and my husband? I'll say something and he doesn't understand what I actually mean. And so he gets defensive, takes it personally. And then I get mad because he didn't understand my feelings. And then it just causes this negative pressure, like this. It's kind of like magnets that are, you're trying to push together and they won't go together. It's simply because we're misunderstanding each other. Okay, so then in the book he really jumps into the victim mentality. A lot of when it comes to negativity is simply that victim mentality, right? And it's not your fault. No, it's no one's fault. And I think the thing that I love about this book and this chapter is that he's so graceful in not shaming you. And when we think of being negative, we think of that obviously as a bad thing. And so it's easy to take all of the mindset and like really the growth in this, it's easy to take it personally. But what you're doing in that situation is you're taking on a victim mentality. Because the truth of the matter is, we're all victims at some point in our lives. But if you take that victim mentality and you hold on to it, well, that's just going to create more negativity for you. Because when you take on that mentality, you're more likely to take on a sense of entitlement and behave selfishly. Like you say, oh, the world's against me. Oh, pity me. Oh, poor me. And then not only are you in that dark cloud, but the things that are going to help you, for example, helping other people. When I am in a bad mood, I love to help other people. I love to go above and beyond. But if someone's hurting me, if I feel real down, the last thing I want to do is really stand up and help someone else. When you are negative, you're less likely to help other people. You're less likely to be nice to those around you. You're less likely to give someone a compliment. Why? Because you're really stuck in that negative headspace. So when you're thinking of just situations in life, be very leery of hanging on to that victim mentality. And it's messy, and it's really, as we dive into this, you're going to see it's kind of really reflecting on your feelings and asking yourself why you feel that way or what we can do to overcome it. Because like he said, we're all victims at some point. Things happen, life happens, life's hard, life's like really hard. And really stepping out of the victim mentality doesn't mean that you pretend the hard doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen to you. It's just what you do when those bad things happen, how you respond when those bad things happen, when someone treats you like crap, when someone disrespects you, when you lose something, right? When you lose your peace. How are you responding to that? The thing that you got to remember is negativity is contagious, like super contagious. So who you surround yourself really, really matters. What you surround yourself with really, really matters. The actions that you surround yourself with really, really matter. In the book, he actually covers this awesome experiment. It's like, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the ASH experiment, ASCH. my mind was blown because in it said that research has proven that most humans value social conformity so much that they'll change their own response to align with the group, even if the group is blatantly wrong. All right. So in this experiment, what happened was they showed a picture of 3 lines. And then they had a separate line and said, okay, out of these 3, which line matches this? And then some test participants were in on it. Like they knew that this was a trick, and some were not. And so they had everyone line up and ask, okay, which one matches? And there were people who were purposely answering it wrong. Majority of them were purposely answering it wrong to get the response from those test subjects. And even though you could physically tell that the shorter one was here and the regular one was here, big difference in size, because so many people were answering wrong, the people who were the test subjects answered wrong also, because they didn't want to be left out. They didn't want to be wrong. It's something called groupthink bias. Think of it now in this terms. You and your friends are sitting at lunch, right? There's a big group of you, and one person starts complaining about something, and then someone else starts complaining about something, and then someone else starts complaining about something. What are you most likely to do, right? You're going to complain about the something. Why? Because we don't want to be segregated. We don't want to be like pushed off and separated from them. We want to be a part of their group. We want to be a part of their club. Like we want to be included. But if we are standing up on our own, that's really scary. Even if we know our answer's right. Like what if 20 people tell you the sky is green? It's blatantly green out here. Can't you see it? And you're standing out here. You're the one person who's like, what are they smoking? It's blue. I don't understand this. But so many are so dead set on that sky is green that you're like, you know what? I think I might be able to see that it's okay. I get it. Yeah, it's kind of like a sea foam green, right? Like I get the green. You know you're wrong. You know that's not right, but you still change your truth to match their truth. Mind blown. All right, so what is negative, right? Like what are different types of negative people that you're going to surround yourself with, that you're going to maybe not surround yourself with, that's the wrong word, you're going to be in contact with. And as I'm reading these, I want you to think if you could put someone you know fits this category, or if you fit this category. And I'm not saying own it all. I'm simply saying recognize who you see in these categories and what categories you seem to fall under. First is complainers. Complainers, oh, they complain about everything. They love to complain. Complaining feels good. Complaining gives them attention. Complaining gives them something to talk about. They complain all the time, but they complain without looking for a solution. They don't actually want an answer to their problem. They just want to bitch. All right. Then you have cancelers. Cancelers are those people who you're like, oh, girl, you look so good. And she's like, no, not really. Or what? You mean I didn't look good yesterday? They love to have that fight, that competition, something that's, oh, you said something nice that surely you can't actually be being nice to me. What? Then we have casualties. They think the world is against them and blame their problems on everyone else. Well, I lost my job because my boss was a jerk. Well, you could go on and on. I'm really bad at thinking of examples of this, but you can think of people who constantly blame the world, right? My parents raised me this way, so it's just how I am. I'm big boned, so I'm just never going to lose weight. Right? There's so many different things where they just won't take ownership for their own life. And instead, it's easier to blame everyone else. You see this a lot in politics, I feel like. People love to blame someone else for the world's problems instead of recognizing what they can do to help fix it, right? Another one is critics. Critics judge others for having a different opinion. Have you ever had that person where you say something and then they immediately start tearing you down? Like, oh no, that's wrong in this and this and this and this. That would be a critic. They think that everyone should think like them. I can actually think of someone who's like that. They think that they are never wrong and anything you say and or do is totally terrible, right? That's just what a critic is. Commanders. Commanders realize their own limits, but they put pressure on other people to succeed. It makes them absolutely crazy that people aren't willing to work hard, that people aren't willing to do something different. Those are commanders. And then we have competitors. Competitors compare themselves to others. They're totally controlling and manipulating to make themselves look better. So maybe they see that girl who's doing really well and they're the first person to make that post about her, to tear her down, or to talk bad about her behind her back. They're the one-uppers, the people who are like, oh yeah, you did that? Well, look at what I did, right? I'm going to one-up you every single time. They are competitors. They always want to make themselves look better. And then you have controllers. Controllers, they love being in control. They love to monitor and try to direct how other people spend their time, spend their money, make decisions, and they want to have total control. So now, I think that you can probably think of at least one person that fits in those negative brackets, right? And I'm sure you can find yourself sitting in one more than the other. That's okay. It's natural and it's normal, but there's ways around it. It's important to recognize this. It's important to recognize these negative aspects so that you can see when you're dealing with someone who lives in that kind of bubble, right? You need to recognize it in other people, but also in yourself so that you can come in with a better understanding and a reaction to that negativity. Once you can understand, one, what the negative action or behavior is, two, why it's happening, they're losing their sense of peace or their sense of love or their sense of understanding. If you can come in with that understanding and that grace, you're going to be able to respond better. Because a lot of times when we are treated with negativity, we take it personally, right? Like, what I'm gonna wear this, like I suck. Like we go into that negative headspace taking responsibility. But if you could step out of it and realize, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is how they're behaving, and I recognize that's not on me, that's a them thing, then it really gives you permission to grow, not only in that relationship but also with yourself. And I think that's super, super, super important. But again, it's important to recognize what's inside you. We are all guilty and no one is perfect. And I'm sure even if you tried your hardest to never be negative, you're never going to find that super sweet, perfect spot. We are all sinners. It just is what it is. All we can do is work our hardest to change our negative behaviors. But how do you deal with negativity, right? Like nobody wants to live in a negative space. No one wants to be stuck in that. You don't want to spend the rest of your days just being a negative Nancy. So how do you really deal with it and overcome it? The first thing that you want to do is you want to become an objective observer. So what does that mean? That means you detach yourself from the response or from the negativity. Like I was saying, don't take things personal when someone acts emotionally or when someone treats you bad. If you're reacting out of emotion or out of, being compulsive about it, like she said X, Y, and Z, and you're like, oh, how dare her, blah, blah, blah. My gosh, I'm such a terrible person. How could she say that about me? I feel like a bad friend. I'm a bad mom because she said I fed my baby the wrong thing. Like, we can say all these crazy things in our head, but if we can just detach ourselves from the negativity we're receiving and say, all right, this is what they're doing. I see that they're feeling fearful about this, then you're able to come into the relationship without judgment. You're able to deal with the situation without taking it responsibility where it's not due. One thing that they said in the book that I thought was super, super awesome was if you can help others, if you can't do that, at least don't hurt them. And when you can detach yourself from the negativity, it allows you to stop hurting them, right? I find this more often in my marriage because when I realize I screwed up and Kenny's like, hey, this really hurt my feelings, or hey, this is making me feel some type of way, I get mad at myself. I get so mad at myself. And then I turn into like a bigger jerk. Instead of just recognizing that I screwed up and saying sorry and moving forward, I turn into more of a jerk, right? But if instead, next time he said, hey, I really feel X, Y, and Z, or you really hurt my feelings, and instead of putting myself in that emotional bubble, if I could say, okay, I understand why he said that. This is why. What can I do to not hurt him and bring positivity to the relationship? You just really have to become objective about it and be okay knowing that it's around you, but you don't have to participate. The next thing you can do is you can back away slowly, right? And this I feel like is more apt to your environment, right? So maybe it's in the mornings you wake up and the first thing that you do is you run to social media, right? And all you see are bad, negative things all day, all morning. You're sitting on the toilet, scrolling. You're eating your breakfast, scrolling, and everyone's bitching. Everyone's complaining. You see the bad news. Like, it's not fun stuff and it's not productive. So you need to back away slowly, recognize it, and then purge or avoid the things that are actually going to make you feel uncomfortable. When you have physical triggers and you recognize, oh my gosh, this is making me feel some type of way, negative thoughts, negative feelings, this is a boundary that I have to set. I have to slowly step away from it, step away from the morning scrolling, step away from that person who always complains, step away from the person who makes me feel like I'm not enough. Back away slowly. The third principle, and is one of my favorites, is the 25-75. And what that means is for every one negative person in your life, you have 3 uplifting people around you who are there to support you, to pick you up, to keep you in that positive headspace. Because let's be real, the one thing I loved about this book is that he never tells you to like cut everybody off. Because a lot of personal growth, what you hear is totally rid your life of negativity. That's not possible, right? Like maybe the negative people in your life are your family or your siblings, right? Like maybe the negative people in your life is your boss and you have to deal with them every single day. You don't have another option. So instead of just cutting it out and, whatever, just recognizing that you can make up for it by surrounding yourself with more positive people. Keep that 25-75 rule. So sit down at some point and look around your circle, right? Kind of, but don't label them negative, positive, negative, positive. Not to label them that, but just so you can recognize, okay, here's a person that makes me feel some type of way. I need to introduce 3 people to offset those feelings or those emotions. I think that's super, super powerful for you to recognize what's blessing you and what's not blessing you. Because a lot of times we put up with or we deal with people because they've always been a part of our life, right? Convenience. And it's the truth. That we don't actually do an analysis on who we're surrounding ourselves with. And I'm not saying that those people are bad. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm simply saying maybe it's time that we add new people to the mix so that we're not forever stuck in junior high, right? So we're not forever stuck in the old drama so that we can continue to grow. The next thing, allocate time. So maybe you do have that super negative person, right? Where can you set boundaries and regulate how much time you spend with that negative person? So for example, maybe your grandma is a total negative Nancy. She's super mean. She's super judgy. She's not fun to be around. She sucks your energy out like crazy. And every evening you go and you spend a couple hours with her, or maybe every weekend you go and have the whole weekend with her. How can you really set boundaries and spend less time with her? I'm not saying cut her out. I'm simply saying, do you have to be there every night? Do you have to spend the whole day with her? You can still spend time with her, but also take care of your own self. Take care of what you need so that you can be a better person. There's no book or rule or law that says you have to spend 24 hours a day with that negative Nancy. I don't care who she is, right? The last one, don't be a savior. A lot of the times we want to put in our input. We want to lift other people up. We want to give a solution. Well, at least I do, if we're being honest. I love helping people. But sometimes I realize that that's not my job. My job isn't to help people. My job is not that at all. My job is to listen. My job is to show up for me, and it's their job to save them. Being a savior is simply an ego thing. We want to fix everyone else so that we feel good about us. But the truth of the matter is, that's not your job. That's not your job. So, recognizing negativity inside you. Because yeah, we all have negativity around us. Negativity is everywhere. Turn on the news, go to your Facebook, call your friend. That's what you're going to see. And if you start tracking it, you'll notice it. You'll notice how much negativity you have in your day. But we have to also call ourselves out. We have to recognize the things that we say and we think throughout the day, because negativity doesn't always come from other people and it isn't always spoken out loud. How many times in your head do you say, "Oh, I could have done better in that workout. Oh my gosh, you're so behind on water. Why do you suck?" Like we just kind of tear ourselves down when we mess up, right? We had a screw up at work. Oh my gosh, why don't you do better at your job? You suck so bad. Like those thoughts that you keep telling yourself, I'm never going to be an amazing coach. I'm not a good mom, blah, blah, blah. Those are all drowning you. They're all tearing you down. And it's important to recognize how you feel and what you're thinking so that you can overcome that. The key to freedom is self-awareness. Too often we are afraid to evaluate ourselves. We're afraid to question our behaviors and our thoughts and our actions. We're afraid to look in the mirror because we don't know if we'll like what we'll see. And maybe that's you. Maybe you don't like to look in the mirror and look at that person. You don't like to see the inside of your heart or your mind because it's not very pretty. Been there, been there. But what I want to remind you is that when you're willing to sit with her, when you're willing to look at her, when you're willing to ask her questions and understand her, you're going to become more self-aware. And then all those things that you don't love about her, you get to grow and you get to change. And I think that's really beautiful. The fact that if you recognize what you don't like, you can take action to create something you do like. You got to remember that all those petty, naive thoughts and words are like mosquitoes. In the book, he talks about this time where he was staying in the ashram, and what they do is they have like a mosquito net that just covers them, and they got to wrap themselves in this net. But what they have to do before they go to sleep is check the net to make sure there's no mosquitoes, because once you're wrapped up in there, no place for it to go, right? And you don't want mosquitoes coming in the middle of the night. One time he didn't check his little net good enough, and there was a mosquito in there, and it had bit him like 10 or more times. And that's just it. It was one mosquito, but it caused all this discomfort. The same with your thoughts. Maybe you just have one negative, petty thought. It will still rob you of your peace. It will still make you really uncomfortable. It will still be very painful. One of the most powerful tools that he has in this chapter, this chapter, is spot, stop, swap. And what does that mean? This is a great tool for when you're reflecting negativity within yourself. This is how you could recognize the negativity and then change it. So when you're feeling some type of way, when you're feeling that yuck, when you're feeling like you want to complain, when you're feeling like you're not good enough, when you're feeling hurt or taken back by someone else, it's really important to stop that feeling right there. Stop and say, okay, what is this feeling that I'm feeling and why am I feeling it, right? Like stop it, understand like, oh, hey, I am being a huge jerk to my husband. Whoa, I've got to stop right now. Or spot this right now. Like I see it. I see that I'm yelling at him. I see that I'm complaining to him. I see that I'm not being nice to him. Then you stop it. And you ask yourself, okay, why? Like, why am I behaving this way? Why am I barking at him? Why am I being mean? What is it that's making me feel some type of way? Once you spot it, you can understand it, stop and understand it, and then you can swap it for a new way of processing and understanding. Once you know kind of that fear or kind of the hurt that you're feeling, you can really change your actions. You can change the things that you're saying. You can change your behaviors. So spotting, become aware of the issue, of the feeling or issue, recognize them so you can free yourself of them. If you never actually call yourself out on how you're feeling, and I know if you're like me, you're not that person who likes to feel. I don't like to feel. I don't like to understand why I don't feel good. I'd rather just brush it under the rug and move on with my life, right? Like, okay, that's fine. Get out of here. But if you actually recognize your feelings, and you recognize the negative feelings, you can understand them and you can free yourself from them. You're not trapped in the I'm not enough cycle or the I'm not a good mom cycle or whatever shame cycle you're telling yourself, because you get to find out where they come from and really set yourself up with tools so that you can overcome them. When you can understand it, that's when you get to change it. And something that they had talked about in the book was super powerful, I thought, was what we judge, envy, or suspect in someone else can guide us to the darkness we have within ourselves. So it's really taking clues from people around us, right? So maybe, I don't even know what this book is from, where this is from, but the idea that like what we don't like in someone else is just a reflection of what we don't like in ourselves, right? And the same thing here. When you see something you don't like in someone else, you're really got to ask yourself, okay, is that because I do that? Like, is that what this is? But you can recognize it and say, okay, I don't like that. That way you can change it. So the first thing you have to do is spot it. And then we stop it. Really stop the behavior. If you can tell that you're being a jerk to your husband, all right, step back, take a deep breath and understand why, and kind of understand your emotions, understand how you are reacting throughout the day. Tomorrow, my challenge for you is to spend your day just observing your body, because your physical body is going to be able to tell you a lot, right? Do you hold your tongue at the top of your mouth? Are your shoulders are always up by your ears? Do you sit slouched over, right? Like, what are all those? Listen to your body, feel it, understand it, and the emotions that go with it. Is your stomach hurting? Do you have a headache? Like, do you feel like you're on the verge of tears? Are you ready to snap someone in half? What is that? When you can observe yourself, you're going to be able to start finding triggers, the way that your body is responding to the world around you. And that's going to be super, super powerful when you're really trying to stop the negativity to overcome it, because more times than not, your body's going to give it away before your mouth does. Your body's going to give it away before your mind does. And especially if you're not into feelings, then your body's definitely going to give it away, because you won't even let yourself feel it in here or in here, right? So one challenge that you can do is go 1 week, one whole week, with no complaining, no comparing, and no criticizing. Anybody else just like, oh my gosh, what? A whole week with no complaining? How hard is that going to be, right? And the goal isn't to be perfect, because newsflash, you're not going to be perfect. We all do it. But the goal is every day you keep tally, starting at day 1. All right, how many times did I complain? How many times did I compare myself or someone else? How many times did I criticize? And you just keep tally of that. And you recognize it and you feel it, and you understand it. And then the next day, keep tally again, but this time beat the day before. And just the goal is to slowly whittle that down so you are less negative every single day. But you got to understand it. You got to recognize it first. What you track, you improve. And if you're tracking your negativity, I'm sure you're going to be improving it, because you're going to realize how much of a salty bee you've been lately, right? Or at least I will. So then also recognize when you are in that comparison state, when you are looking at someone else, look at what it is that you want that they have, right? And I think this is super powerful, especially in today's social media world, because it's so easy to look around at everyone else at what they have and say, well, good for her. But what if you look at what she has and you're like, ooh, she's confident and strong. I want that. What can I do over on my side of the fence in my turf to really create and grow that, right? It's not just looking at what she has, it's asking what actions she took to get there. And when you can do that, and when you can start growing your own confidence or your own healthy marriage or your own travel adventures, or I don't know what you're looking for in your life, but whatever you compare yourself with, that's when you're going to be able to start celebrating your own life. This quote right here, take a screenshot, save it. I don't care what you got to do. This is the best, because I'm that person. I love to have the last word, and I shouldn't be proud of that at all. Like, it's not a proud thing. I always used to be proud of it. But you got to remember, saying whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want is not freedom. Real freedom is not feeling the need to say those things, because 9 times out of 10, when we want to get that last word in, when we want to say whatever we want, when we want to have the power to say it however we want, that's really just our negativity speaking. That's really just us wanting to be right. That's really just us wanting to tear someone else down. And so when you can get to a point where you don't feel like you have to defend yourself, where you feel like you don't have to tear someone else down, where you don't feel like you have to complain, that is freedom. All right, so now how can we swap our negative behaviors to make them more positive, to make them more enlightened, to make them feel better? You won't be able to completely change overnight. Like, that's just the truth. Like I said, when you do your no negative week, which I want you to each do a no negative week, and I want you to literally share about it in your stories. It can be sneakily, like it doesn't have to be loud. Maybe somebody think of a hashtag that we can use when we do this challenge so that we know what we're talking about, but maybe no one else knows what we're talking about. And we can kind of keep tally for a week. How fun would that be? That would be fucking hard. But I'm in if you're in. But remember that it's going to take practice. It's going to take work, and we're going to have to build a little bit at a time, right? Also, something that he said that I thought was super powerful, because being on this growth journey, you hear be positive, stay positive, positive vibes only, like all these things. And I really struggle with okay, I'm just going to be positive, all the things. But the truth is, life isn't always positive. You're going to have hard things. You're going to have things that you struggle with. You're going to have things that make you don't feel good, right? That's just part of it. So how do we go through life in reality without being negative? And one thing he spoke about was journaling. Really journaling so that you can understand your feelings, journaling so that you know what's going on in your mind. A lot of the times we'll just keep it locked up in here and we don't even realize we're thinking about it. But if you journalize and recognize what you're feeling, how you're feeling it, things that you can do to change it, one, it's going to allow you to sit with it. It's going to allow you to grow with it. It's going to allow you to really understand yourself. So don't be afraid to journal your feelings. Obviously, don't be terrible to yourself. Don't be terrible to other people. Just simply write down the real. Write down what you're feeling, because your feelings are never wrong. Your feelings are totally 100% valid. And it's okay to recognize that. And then when you're speaking with other people, when you're out and about in life, and when you're on your stories and you're sharing in your social media and you're interacting with other people, be sure you're just choosing your words carefully. Be slow to speak. Use your words on purpose. Don't get too caught up in answering now or getting that last word in, because more times than not, it's simply bad communication, right? Bad communication is what stops people from growing together, is what stops relationships, is what causes that negative friction amongst humans. Because truth of the matter is, humans suck at communicating. But if you slow down and you get very purposeful with your words and really take time to recognize and understand other people's feelings and emotions, you're going to be able to fix your end of this communication struggle, right? And then the most important thing is to know that success is not limited. So many times it's the fear of loss, the loss of our success, right? Well, if she's winning, I can't because she's already done it. But the thing to remember is there are unlimited seats. Everybody can win. Everybody can win. You have a seat. She has a seat. He has a seat. They have a seat. You have a seat. And when you can live your life without fear of missing your win, missing your success, missing your love, missing your happiness, when you can live your life without the fear of missing out, gosh, how much better are you going to feel, right? Remember, going back to the beginning, negativity comes simply from a fear of loss of peace or understanding. And when you know that you're not losing anything, such as success, such as your future, such as that love, right? When you know you're not missing out, how much better are you going to react to the world? And then most important, you can't fix yourself by breaking someone else. In today's social media world, it's so easy to tear someone else down. It's so easy to complain. It's so easy to be negative about other people. But you bitching and complaining, you posting negatively, you talking bad about that person behind their back, that's not going to fix how you feel in here. It's going to make you feel worse. You can't fix yourself by breaking someone else. And the less time you fixate on everyone else, on that girl on your Instagram, on that girl in your social media feed, on what she's doing, on what he's doing, on how successful they are, on the new house that they got. When you spend less time fixating on everyone else, you have more time to focus on you. You have more time to be your best self. You have more time to fill your cup. You have more time to reach for your goals. You have more time to read books and dance in the kitchen and whatever makes you happy. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. Like I tell my kids, when they come to me and go to try to complain about their brother, say, oh, my brother's doing this, or blah, 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 or whatever it is, I ask them, what's your name? What's your name? You just kind of look at me and I say, no, really, what's your name? So they tell me and I'm like, all right, well, we should probably be worrying about you then, right? And so I say the same thing to you. As you're scrolling social media, checking out her abs or looking at her promotion or checking their new house, I'm going to ask you, what's your name? Maybe you should worry about your house and your abs and your life. Now, I am going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to open it up for questions, comments, and takeaways if you guys have any.
I dug so much into this damn chapter. There's so much to this negativity chapter. I can't even, it's golden nuggets. And even as you were going through the presentation, it's like you were presenting his words in a different way that I didn't, that I hadn't even thought of in that way. So that was really cool to see what your takeaways are with it, because the section on negativity for me is very personal to me, and it's very, very mind-blowing to me and very inner knowing and inside looking for myself, because identifying negativity within myself was a big takeaway from what I took from that chapter. Not so much about the people around me, because I have noticed negativity around me, but more than anything has been about finding it in here and turning that around. Because if I can turn it around inside myself, I can start to see it around me and start curating my circle, but I have to cure myself first. And it's funny because, you know, people will talk to me all the time, be like, you're so positive, you're such a bright energy and things like that. And I'm like, you have no idea what's going on the inside. Like, I put up a front some days because I can't handle what's going on in here. So that chapter, oh man, I spent a lot of time on it, a lot of time. I'm just now out of negativity. I'm moving into fear now, but it's just the book is just really heavy, but all in really good ways. So yeah, just that last slide, I'm like, damn, that's such a way to think about it, especially having kids too. And it's like, those are conversations you have with them, but what about yourself? It's like we can preach all we want. Are we practicing the things that we're telling our kids? And that spot, stop, swap, which I did a live on in my personal page, and it's helped me more on my anxiety level than on my negativity level, because it helps me understand my trigger of, oh, here's the anxiety. Why are we having it? How can we swap it out for something different? Or if I'm having a hard time with someone, I'm like, okay, why do you feel this way? Like, okay, recognizing the angry feeling. Why are you feeling this way? And how can we swap it out for something better? And exactly what you said, when we get pissed about what other people are doing, it's usually something we don't like about ourselves. And I have a few people like that in my life that I'm like, all right, Amy, obviously there is something that you have not fixed in yourself yet, and you're seeing it in other people, and it's pissing you off. So why don't you check yourself before you wreck yourself, and shut your mouth before you open it again. You know, and it's like it's stopping yourself before proceeding, and exactly about like taking time to actually speak back to people with a clear head. That is huge. Huge, huge, huge. It's not that knee-jerk reaction. So many times I have to ask for help there. Like, listen, this is how I'm feeling. Is this how I should be feeling? Can you help me walk through these feelings I'm having? And like the types of negative people, oh my gosh, I have identified with every single one of them in one point or another in my life. Now I can identify other people too that have fallen into that category, but going through everything, I'm like, whoo, I've been a little bit of that, 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 a little bit of that. So it's like, yeah, it's been really, really transformative for me to go through that chapter. So Jay Shetty is the man.
Well, and I think what's interesting. I think what's interesting is that so many times we're raised to think that way, right? Like certain things in our upbringing, maybe it was a person, maybe it was the way that some other people treated us, right? Like we're kind of raised to think like that. We learn it young and then we just hold on to it. And we don't recognize that it can be something that we change. It's just kind of what life was and what life is. And so we think that moving forward, it's something that we have to hold on to or it's our way of coping. But when we can recognize that we are a grown ass adult and that we don't have to feel that, and we can see, like, after reading this book, after going through this presentation, okay, this is a negative thing. I don't like it. It's not blessing me. I have to change it. It gives us permission to own our own lives, right? Because at some point in our life, we have to say, no, it's not my parents' fault. It's not those kids on the bus's fault. It's not that friend from kindergarten's fault. This is on me. Or that boyfriend who dumped me. This is on me. This is something I have to change. And if I keep holding on to their bad habits or their response, I'm always going to be stuck in that kindergarten, in that high school, in growing up, right? Whereas if I could recognize it and make a decision to do better, whew, it's pretty powerful.
And even further than that, like I think in terms of spirituality and understanding that this is the life we have now and the life that we come back to in our next life and the soul that we carry over, like I'm healing this body, this timeline, and this life that I have, so then my next life doesn't have to keep living this shit over and over and over and over again. Christina calls it something like a soul contract. You die with a soul contract. Whenever you live again, you have that same unfinished soul contract. So I'm like, if I can help myself now, and that's such a powerful thing. If you can help yourself now, and even for your kids, I mean, go past that. If you don't even believe that, even for your kids, you're curating what their lives are going to be like. Who was it? It was somebody, you should probably know who I'm talking about, talked about our kids setting their internal temperature on how we act and how we do. We've set them up with their internal temperature of how they're going to live life. And it's just so freaking true. And that's how we've grown up, is how our parents have set our internal temperature at. And if we know better, we do better, and we grow and we change. And I love how he says not to cut those people out, which we obviously, there are just some people that just need to go, right? But the ones that have to stay, like I can definitely identify the really bad, toxic, negative people that I want 1% of my time with, and I want to fill up the other 99% of the time with other people aside from them. That's really powerful because it gives me permission to be able to curate my own time and set my own boundaries with that and not feel resentful for having to spend time with them. Like, that's huge. That is huge. So that's it. I'm done. I'm going to stop talking. It's just so.
All right. If that's all the questions or comments we have, I want to thank you for sitting here with me tonight. I appreciate you guys so, so much. And I will see you next week.